Bret's going to come up now and run through the fundamentals of actually delivering the pitch now, translating from idea generation and making a delivery. And here's a guy that's only done it a couple dozen times. So take advantage of it.
All right. Thank you. Hello. Let me see. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Great. It's great to see the room packed. And thanks, everyone, for coming. This is just wonderful. It brings a lot of great energy. A couple things that Chris mentioned about, wishing to have a mentor when he started off. These are really key things. A lot of the questions that, when I talk to folks that are very interested in starting a company, they're usually a little nervous about, where do I start? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? I don't know enough about strategy or tax or whatever else it is. But there's so many people that are out there that are willing to help you. And the program that is offered here tonight, several of us here are mentors, and we do it for free because we just love to see young entrepreneurs and all ages. I don't want to say, but young, and when I say that, entrepreneurs, that it's the first time they're going out to do it. Or maybe the second time they're looking for some guidance. So anyway, thank you for all being here. And I'm going to give you a couple of tips when you're ready to go out and raise some money. So one of the key things you'll see is in the presentation, there's a few slides that really talk about what the most important thing that investors want to see. And when I'm talking about investors, it doesn't have to be a sole standalone company where you're looking for an investment. It could be within a company that you work for and you have an idea to extend their business or to get in another market. And the same fundamentals will apply because they have a board of directors, they have investors that really want to understand where the money is going to come from, where it's going to go. Okay? So with that, let's see. I wanted to show you a picture of my house. Not, if that was it, I probably would be there just kind of watching TV or something. But the key thing here is clarify the essence of your vision. This is one of the most important things. When you have an idea, you want the idea to be like a fire, like a passion. So you need to really clarify. If it's taking a long time to explain it to someone, I like the mom test. That's a good one. But you really find out what the essence of that idea is, whether it's a product or a service, and clarify that so you can really get to that in a very short period of time. Most investors that you speak with are going to be looking at hundreds of plans and hundreds of ideas. So they really want to have you get right to the point. Key is the problem that you want to solve. Okay? What is it? What are you trying to solve? In the case of this car plane, they're solving a problem. There's definitely a market for it. The military wants to invest money in it. So there's a market. So you have to be very clear up front. One of the most important things is the team. And when I say that, a lot of folks will start out and they have an idea and they're actually trying to explore that idea. But all of us have strengths and weaknesses. And investors really want to invest in a team. It's very expensive to put all that money into one individual in case that individual is not able to complete the job or get all the way through the investment dollars and make it succeed. But everyone has strengths and weaknesses. So identify your strengths and weaknesses. Be honest with yourself. And find folks that can complement you. You may have to share a little bit of your business with them, but the pie is going to be a lot bigger. It's going to be a lot more beneficial. I've tried to start I've started companies completely by myself, grew them to over 150 people. It was a lot easier when I had partners, and I did it. I'll tell you, every time, if I get partners that shore up the areas that I don't have, good experience or strengths, it makes it go a lot easier. I let them worry about that. So in front of your investors, be upfront and say, here's what's missing. I don't have a strong financial background or a legal background or marketing. And actually what will happen is they're going to find some folks that'll help you out or they'll help you network. So the market, this is the most important thing. We heard earlier about basket weaving, if there's no one to buy baskets. So what's your market? This is really important because you may be creating a new market. I think of like the tablets recently, like an iPad. Not too long ago, we didn't know what these were. But now it seems like we have to have one. So a market was created. So it's an unknown market that actually, Apple went out and explored it and did a wonderful, fantastic job at that. So look at the market, what it is today, and the projected growth. And that's really going to be key because you will have competitors. If you're successful, you will have competitors. And you want to make sure that you explain to the investors that the market will be large enough for your venture to be successful. Key thing today is how do customers solve the problem today? I'll go back to the tablet example. We used to use our smartphones or, laptop and things like that. But the tablet, for example, has come into a real niche that has really, transformed some businesses. So if you describe how it's done today and you're able to explain your new product or service, how it actually could really change the way it's done, that is something that really attracts investors. Customers. This is the most important thing. We had a session earlier today, and without customers, you really don't have a business. So you could raise money and raise money and raise more money. So trying to get an early customer, whether it's an alpha, a beta customer, even if it's not even a paid customer, that they're actually starting to engage with your product. So when you're going to raise money, you could actually describe how it's going to be used and get some customer testimonials. It helps you with pricing. It helps you with someone actually from the customer side to actually say why they would pay for it and how many they'll purchase or how much of the service they would purchase. Once you have some customers, I would say it's not difficult to get one or two customers to get started. That can happen. How is it going to grow over time? The most interesting thing is what is the cost to acquire a customer? Recently with Facebook, there was for folks in the game industry, if you understand the Zynga and various games, these games took off incredibly fast because of social networking and some of the aspects that Facebook allowed, basically free marketing. If I play a game, friends that I have on Facebook will actually see my score and say, what's that game, and go and play that. So the marketing cost or cost to acquire customers was effectively zero. Facebook changed that model not too long ago, just a few months ago. Those companies are now spending millions to hundreds of millions of dollars every year to actually acquire customers now. So don't assume that your cost to acquire a customer is going to be static, but make the assumptions of what it is, what it's going to cost you for whether it be marketing, sales, and finally look at the lifetime value of a customer. Is your customer going to be coming back for a new model, a new version, a service? So that's actually kind of key. So that now you could understand when you go, I think Chris mentioned you're a little aggressive at your getting your customers. So, but once you have the customers and you understand that lifetime value of the customers, even if you're slower at acquiring them, you actually have a model whereby you can understand where you'll need either to raise additional money or you could get to a place that's on the next slide, which is your revenue model and where you're going to get to profitability. So let's talk about the revenue model. A lot of companies will start off and they'll actually offer their services or product. They may offer it below market value just to actually acquire customers. That's okay. But at one point, you really want to explain to your investors the road to profitability. So you may give away free samples, you may give away some services, give away products, or sell them at a discounted rate, or maybe initially if you have a product, the initial numbers or quantities are expensive until you get to volume. And it's okay to sell things at a loss, but you need to demonstrate what the road to profitability is. That's why you're going to get investors. They want to see this to be a successful venture. The sales cycle. This is actually really important to understand the sales cycle. So in some industries, in healthcare software, enterprise software, it could be 6 to 18 months for a sales cycle. From the time you actually, introduce your brand new technology or your new service, it could take that long. So you need to understand that that allows you to raise enough money to stay in business until you start getting your sales. Another one is your pipeline. So when you look at the sales cycle, if you determine that it's a long sales cycle, you better have a very good pipeline, because if it's a long sales cycle, customers could drop out in the process. And if they start dropping out, you want to have enough in there and understand the ratio of the number of customers that you have relative to the success rate of actually closing them. You know what? I'd be happy to take questions in the middle of this, or would you like me to go right through it all?
I'd like you to go through it all.
Through it all?
Yeah.
Will do. Yeah, understood. I only have 40 more slides. So this statement, what keeps you awake at night? So you're trying to launch this new venture. Are you worried about a competitor? Are you worried about a regulation that may change? What keeps you awake at night? And you really want to share that with your investors. It could be competition, technology. It could be just your team, whatever it may be. The risks are very, very important to highlight up front. So you're going into it, your team's going into it, your customers are going into it, understanding what potential risks there are. Strength and weaknesses. When you look at your competition, so a lot of times you'll see a startup come up with an idea. And you say, the competition it's the big company, a Microsoft or a giant company, and they move slow. They may move slow, but they may have billions of dollars in the bank. So it could be, they might not hit you in the first year, but it might be the second year or third year. So the idea is really look at the strengths and weaknesses of your competition. And there's one more point that I want to tell you, is the potential competition. So it could be that you have an idea, service, product, whatever it may be, and you think it's very unique, and it may be, but there could be someone else that has a similar idea that is doing the same thing in another part of the world, and that's what you want to also think about. How do you defend your business and grow at a rate so that you are going to be successful and your investors thrive as well? And this is my last slide on funding. So that's what you want to end up with. Those should be, $1,000 bills or more. So the funding secured to date, what does that mean? So you may have raised money from friends and family. You may have raised some money from angel investors. That's important to bring that up front, because the investors that are going to come into the situation, they want to understand what money you have into it right now and how their money is going to be, how it's going to work with that other money. Okay? So if you sold to your friends and family 99% of the company for $1,000, the new investors are going to have a hard time funding the room. So be very clear with that, and identify, lay out how much money you need. And you have to think, Chris had a great point, you put in some money for legal issues. So you really try to think about the contingent funds. The investors aren't looking at what is the minimum amount of money if everything goes perfect. They actually would like to understand what risk may be involved so that they could actually put the extra money in, because all the investors, they have limited partners, and they want to actually be very clear about how much money they're raising and what they're doing with it without having to have a surprise to say, hey, we need an extra $1 million for legal issues. And then just describe what the use of the funds will be. Is it to develop the product or service? Is it to, basically do trials, whatever it may be, but just be very clear what you're going to do with the funds. So with that said, I hope I've basically touched on some of the key elements when you're getting ready to build a pitch, to raise money, whether it's inside of a large company, to kick off a new project, a brand new venture, or an existing venture that's going for another stage of funding. These are some of the key elements that the venture capitalists and foundations will be looking for. With that.
Thank you, Bret.